Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about some Etsy SEO secrets that you might not know or you might have missed or you might have forgotten about because they're not really secrets, but I think that people tend to focus so much on keywords that they forget that there's other things that go into Etsy SEO. The first thing is that there is more than one search engine that Etsy uses and they work together. And this is probably not something that a lot of people understand, but they've said in multiple places at multiple times in multiple presentations that they have multiple search engines that all work together in order to decide how to rank something. And there's different passes. Like first they'll look for something, the first 1,000 listings that match the whatever's typed into the search bar. That's the first sweep. And then after that, they rank those things. So when you look on Etsy, it says there are 1.7 million results for something in jewelry or whatever category it is that's very crowded. They're only showing 1,000 that are ranked out of all of those listings on Etsy. So I guess one of those points to remember is that just because you have something on Etsy, it may never show up in search because there's just too many things to show. And there are only 250 pages on Etsy that show up in any search result. And there are about 40 or so listings on this page. So it's about 10,000 listings will ever show up for any search result. And if you have 1.7 million or however many millions there are in that category, the chances is that you are not going to be found on the first page of search unless it's a real specific niche long tail search. And that's what I always tell people to go for. So basically the first secret is that there are more than one search engine. They're working together, and it's not all about the word order to guarantee that you're going to get on the first page of search. The second secret to Etsy SEO is that there are different types of SEO, and a lot of people just focus on the exact word order match, and you want to have relevant keywords, obviously, regardless of what type of search you're looking for. But there are other places that you can be found on Etsy. There's a homepage on Etsy that suggests things to people. There is a notification section where you might be able to be found. There is browse. There's, related searches at the bottom of the pages. There's all kinds of different places on Etsy where you can get traffic that aren't directly related to whatever's typed into the search bar as far as keywords, but they're related because it's related to those keywords. It's not the exact keywords, it's related, or it's just suggested by Etsy based on your own activity on there, and they think you might be interested in this stuff. So it's search engine optimization because the search engine is looking at these things and it's making connections, and it's looking at you and it's making connections, but it doesn't really have to do with your keywords. It does sort of, but not really. And this is a point that people have a really hard time wrapping their minds around, but think of it as exact word order match or just browsing. And think of when you go to YouTube and you go in and you search for something, and then after that you just kind of look at what YouTube suggests for you. And then after they get kind of off base, you'll go back and search again. But when I go to YouTube, I search for one thing and then I'll start watching videos that are suggested, like up next you might also like, or at the end of the video it shows another video. And that's the kind of browse that Etsy uses, and it is search engine related because it's making connections and it's showing people things that they think that the search engine thinks that person would like, but it's not directly related to what was typed into the search bar for keywords. That's the kind of search engine that Etsy is now, and it is suggesting a lot of things to people. So you can't think of things just in terms of exact word order match, which leads me to the next point. The next quote unquote secret is that it's not only about the word order. And SEO is not only about your keywords. There are more things that go into ranking a listing on Etsy than just what the word order that is typed into the search bar and matching that. And if you don't understand that, then it's really going to hold you back because you have to go in and look at search and your keywords in SEO as topics, not just as keywords. And yes, it doesn't mean that you don't need to do keyword research because search engines like an exact word order match when they can find it. But depending on what people type in, they might not be able to find that exact word order match anywhere because there are so many ways that people can write things, right? There's so many combinations of words that people can use that there might not be a listing on Etsy with that exact word order match. But Etsy doesn't care about that now because it's kind of thinking in terms of topics clicks and browse as opposed to exact word order matching. The other thing is that as far as ranking goes, Etsy isn't just looking at the word order match. It's looking at, do you have a video in the listing? How long is your shipping? How much is your shipping? Is it free? Does they have to pay for it? How long is your processing time? There are so many other things that go into ranking on Etsy that it's not only about the word order match. And when people say, oh, all you have to do is put this thing in the title and match it in your tags and you'll be on the page 1 of Etsy search. No, it doesn't work like that. And it hasn't for quite a while. It really doesn't work like that these days. I've said this many times before, but you just have to understand that there's more about search engine optimization, which is SEO. And that just means getting your listing in the best shape it can be so that the search engine can find it and understand it and show it to the right person. That's all that SEO is. And I say that's all like it's an easy thing, but it really kind of is. And it's not really a secret, but you need to start thinking about SEO as not just what the person typed into the search bar and whether your listings match that or not, because that's really not necessary anymore. And even if you do rank on the first page, it doesn't mean that people are going to buy your listing if other factors come into play. And this was funny because someone in the public Facebook group that I have, and you can join, the links in the description, but somebody mentioned that their sales just died and they couldn't figure out why until they realized that they hadn't changed the processing time, that they had extended for some reason. They extended the processing time to a really long processing time, and they forgot to take that out. And people were coming to the listings, they were being found in search, they were coming to the listings, and then they weren't buying. And it's because they saw this long processing time. They're like, I'm not waiting that long for it. And they went and bought from somewhere else. So just because you are found in search, it doesn't mean that there aren't other factors that are going to tell people, to help people decide whether they should buy or not. And you have to look at everything in your listing, not just the word order, and think that that's what's going to make people buy from you. The next part of Etsy SEO that people don't think about, but is really, really important, and this is how Etsy's search engine has always worked, is that marketing matters, because the more that you send traffic to your Etsy shop and the more things that you sell, the more things you're going to sell. Because Etsy does what I refer to as looping, where you'll sell one thing, and because Etsy sees that that item sells, it puts it up to the top of search results for a while because it knows that it sold, so it might sell again, right? So it's shown Etsy, yes, this is a sellable item, and Etsy wants to sell things. So Etsy's going to show the things that sell in search results more often than things that never sell. And that is a good thing, and it can be a bad thing, but it depends on what people are searching for to begin with. But it's going to help you out a lot if you send your own traffic to Etsy. And we've had this discussion before. Should you send social media traffic to Etsy? Yes, you should send social media traffic to Etsy if you're trying to build up that momentum. Now, if you get your shop to a certain point, you probably don't need to do as much of that because it's making sales on its own, and each sale is going to give that momentum to Etsy as it loops it up to the top of the search results page for a while. And it's going to be more likely to sell if it's on the first page of search. So as Etsy is looping, Etsy loops, I've always said that. I think if you're in my eShop Success program, that's one of the phrases I use in the search section. Etsy loops, and when you sell something, it's likely to sell again just because it will show up at the top of search for a while. And that's part of SEO and understanding that too. So sending your own customers to Etsy to purchase can get that momentum going. And it's important to do that if you don't have the momentum going already. And it's like, pushing a rock downhill. It starts out slow and then it gets faster and faster and faster. And if you can get that started by sending your own traffic, it's really important that you do that if you don't have a lot of organic traffic on Etsy, and that can get the ball rolling, and then you don't have to do it as often. And my main Etsy shop gets consistent sales, and I really don't send any social media traffic to it. In the beginning, I did have to, and I've been on Etsy for a long time, so I have that momentum going. But if it ever slows down, I would send traffic to Etsy because that's one way to get that momentum going and to start that Etsy looping for the search engine and the SEO. You want to think of SEO not as just the keywords that you're putting into the title and tags in your description, but you want to think of it as the whole picture. So think of Etsy as a system. Don't think of Etsy just as keywords as far as search goes and ranking, and it will help you to kind of see the bigger picture as opposed to just matching keywords, because that really doesn't help you anymore. And I mean, you have to do it to a certain extent, but it's not the only part of SEO that goes into it, and it's not the only part of SEO that ranks your listings. So leave me any questions and I will talk to you later.